I want to get our co-host up on screen here for a couple follow-up questions on that. I mean, what did you say? You weren't allowed to call yourself Pot Brothers at first? Like that was a legal problem?
No, we never had
Dream Busters?
No, but we had to think about it.
No, we never. Well, you had to think about it, big brother. You were more scared than I was to go on social media and toke up and let the world know what we do. You know, that was.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now have G.I. Mary Jane joining us on screen, and one of the questions that Joey and I here we like to ask is, what should cannabis cost? If it wasn't for all the regulation, all the unnecessary overhead, all of the taxes on top of it, we say that the average retail ounce in the United States is somewhere between $150 and $250 right now.
Yeah.
That it should be like $20. Is that?
It should be. I should just have to make my copay to my fucking insurance provider, and that's all it should be. That's what it should be.
I can't disagree with that.
Exactly what you need as a prescription, and it should be covered. Yeah, that's.
I mean, that's how they justify all this. Go ahead.
They will cover all the pharmaceuticals in the world for me for my Crohn's that destroy my liver, eat up my kidneys, and will eventually lead to me having to get this surgery that I don't want to get, but they won't cover my cannabis. They will lock me up for it if I decide to use it in a way that they tell me I can't.
Yeah, I was practicing workers' compensation as well as everything else that we do in the cannabis space. About 10 years ago, I had a client who got, I think it was 4 fingers cut off in an industrial accident. And I had him for about 6-7 years, this client, because long story short, he wanted to take cannabis instead of the 8 drugs they were giving him, which was killing him. He was going nuts. He didn't feel good. I mean, he had a psychiatric component now because of all the drugs. And then he started drinking. And so what happened ultimately was I actually went to court because he came to me. And obviously when you walk in our office, you're going to smell it right away. You're going to know that these guys use it, whatever, they don't care. And he wanted cannabis because it could take him off of at least 7, about, I think it was 6 of the drugs he would not have to take. He felt he was getting off that by already doing it. And so I went into court and I tried to get the insurance company to pay. And at the time, unfortunately, there was no way because the insurance companies got federal bullshit to deal with, that federal law applies and the judge wouldn't do it. Nowadays, actually, I have heard in a few states, insurance carriers have been forced to pay a copay or pay for it. I can't recall the couple states that's in, but that's how it should be everywhere. We must remember there's no such thing as recreational marijuana.
I know in New Mexico now they're required to give medical patients, medical inmates that have their medical card before getting arrested, their medicine. So that's an
I mean, there's a lot of advancement, and I think you were saying in the very beginning, are we at the half of the middle of the beginning of the end? I mean, I think you probably put that perfectly because these initiatives that are, like I said, is a two-edged sword. Bam, people got out of jail under 64. But look at the regulations and look at the taxation and look at the big business and look at the corporations coming in. Because if you don't have $3 million and it's hard to even start the business, but it got people out of jail. It did you didn't have to get your recommendation for anything under an ounce, anything under 8 grams of wax, where these numbers came from out of politicians' asses. I don't know. So, I mean, it's not horrible. If you're looking at it for me, I'll be 60 this year. And when I did it when I was 16, I could have been a felon for the rest of my life. So I see these things as two-edged. Like, I hate saying it's a first step, but unfortunately with the political, the way we have politics now, that's how it's going to end up going step by step, but it will get there.
Eventually, I guess you guys know what's going on in Riverside County down there in Southern California, what they're doing to all the farmers in Riverside, what Sheriff Chad Bianco has been doing since 2018 on 420, I think. Yeah.
That's with the bulldozer guy.
Yeah. Yep. That's the sheriff down there that has Marijuana Mondays, and every Monday he serves search warrants, dozens of them. He makes minimal arrests, but he destroys all of these farmers' properties and generally gets them on some sort of water regulation thing.
Yeah, no, I've got a few right now that are pending in because of those raids, and it sucks because most of people are not licensed. They come in and it's fucked. I got to tell them, hey, you know what? But it's not much like the old days. I mean,
but shouldn't you get a notice to appear in court, not like Uzis banging down your door? And I have personal friends that ended up in the hospital from heart attacks because they're sipping their coffee in the morning, and all of a sudden SWAT banging down their door. Now they lose their property at the end of all of it, and
yeah, I mean, this is the problem, and I guess you're hearing it from a lawyer. I agree with you 1,000,000% that you should have that it shouldn't be illegal to grow your own plants. It's not hurting you. The only way you're going to die from marijuana, I believe, is if 10 pounds fall on your head. So why not be able to, if you have property in an agriculture zone, which most of these guys do, but they don't have their city, county permit and state license, it's illegal. I mean, so it's like you got to know what you're doing. I mean, in the old days, it was like, hey, if you get busted and they don't charge you and all you do is lose your crop, well, yeah, it's worth $200,000. Well, how about you going to jail for 5 years? Or, I hate to sound that way. I really do, because I really think it should not be a crime, but that's what's happening up in the high desert. I mean, every other day, not just in Riverside, and a lot of other counties up there in the Inland Empire.
Everywhere. It's happening everywhere.
Be safe. That's all I can say.
Why can't it be like street vendors and their push carts? They get a little license to do their business, and it's just very easy. It's so easy to get licenses for all sorts of different kinds of businesses. But when it comes to cannabis, they just make you jump through hoop after hoop after hoop. And the first hoop is that it's illegal, right? And that's been the whole thing. And that's one of the things we try to stress that we talked about earlier, that it's not legal anywhere. It's partial legalization everywhere. Partial legalization. That's it. And if you want to do business and you don't have a business license, then you're breaking the law. It's been like that with cannabis. It's a crime first, and then you got to prove it's right. We have clients who are all properly licensed and legal and everything, and they get pulled over. The employees don't know what's going on. They're getting arrested. We get the case thrown out and done at the end of the day. But you show a cop, any one particular cop, well, here's all of our stuff. Oh, well, this looks fake to me. I'm going to go prove it to the judge. That's all it takes. So you have those issues still going on. We've got clients who get harassed at the border cities near Mexico by DEA agents, and they take tens of thousands of dollars worth of product that's legal and licensed in California, but still federally illegal. And so, we have that to deal with as well.
Okay, so one last question before Joey has something to wrap this up with. Is there an opportunity right now for legal pushback? And what I mean by that is, when I hear these cases with bulldozers, I'm like, well, sue those assholes. When do we get reparations for stoners? Is there a way to go on the offensive legally and say, you arrested me illegitimately, you planted evidence, you lied, I did 10 days in jail. I want to be compensated for my time for wrongful arrest, because I got a dozen of those cases for myself. But I mean, if we were able to start making examples of that, as opposed to, oh, you got caught lying, better think about it next time. Like, no, we're going to sue you. We're going to bog you down with legal bullshit. We're going to ask the courts to actually hold you accountable for the damages you have caused.
You know what? Let me just touch on that, because there are cities out there and states out there that have spent millions of dollars a year paying out settlements for shit that cops have done and continue to do, and nothing happens to those cops. So that just escalates and drives.
We caught a cop literally lying on the stand. It was happened to be my kid. My kid's 4 felonies that he was fighting, and the cop lied her ass off about him giving consent, And
They said he consented. My nephew, my brother's son, the cop said because as a criminal defense attorney, we have clients who, they lie. They oh, I didn't do this, I didn't say that, and we find out the truth sooner or later. But when my nephew said, "Unc, I didn't consent," I know.
Yeah.
As the daughter of the cop, as the daughter of a cop, I promise you, we don't speak to the police. We don't even answer the door without a warrant. It doesn't happen.
Right. Well, my nephew on the stand during that case told the judge, "My uncle's an attorney, my dad's an attorney. I would be disowned from the family if I ever consented to a search." And the judge ultimately found that the cop was not telling the truth. No, the judge said, "I find that there was no consent." Just short of saying the cop lied. But, between what the cop wrote in the report, audio, video that we're able to use and put together, it was not too hard.
All right, so this sounds like a prime case, Craig. Where's it going now?
That case? Oh, thank God that was dismissed. This happened years ago when we
before we were the Pot Brothers at
No, but where's it going with fighting back? Do you get
what the problem is?
That there's no hope that did you try to sue or push back?
No, that was the very first bust, and he was growing as a caregiver, and he went into after that he went into growing, which I had like 100 plants in my backyard. At one point, I let him start here, and it still was a felony first, and then defend it later. But it's crazy because not enough people. And I can't blame them. Want to grab their balls like my boy did. My boy said, "I'm not making a deal."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we got to do a whole nother show on his two cases that he had a year or so apart, both felonies, both before Prop 64, about how those cases went with the police. That's a whole nother thing. But people don't want to risk it, because when we tell them, look, if the cop doesn't believe you or the judge doesn't believe you, which we can't guarantee, no matter how good of a case we have, that a judge is going to agree or not agree. We can give you like you're more likely than not to win based on the scenario, but you never know. So other side offers a 6-month deal or a year deal with probation or something easy, and then it's gone after that. So it's hard to get people to actually take it all the way in those criminal cases in the first place.
I walked into two and demanded a jury trial, and back and forth in and out of the little room, and eventually they were like, "Okay, we'll drop it." That's how.
Well, sometimes you have to push these, and they get dropped the day of trial. So it's just, and it's it's all a game or not. But when it comes to the civil side of it and suing the cops for the violation of civil rights, we have attorneys we refer those types of cases to, and that's, like I said, though, those cases pan out and somebody gets paid some money, but that's it. You don't see the judgment.
Well, the problem is this. It's and I hate to say snaky attorneys or whatnot, but if you are running a business, and because most of these violations don't necessarily end. And this is from knowing how personal injury works. A civil rights case is nothing more than a expanded personal, like if you hit a car, what are my damages? If you go to a lawyer after getting in an auto accident and there's $10 worth of bumper damage, they're not going to take your case. Even though the guy fucked with you, you went through some shit and blah, 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 they're not going to take your case. So there's no money in it unless there's big damages for these attorneys. So what should happen is, we should amend the codes to give attorney fees that have to be paid by the city or state if you prevail, no matter what the client's damages were. Okay, so you spent the night in jail. Did you get beat up? Did you get hit? No. So what's that worth? And that's how most civil attorneys are going to look at whether they take the case or not. So if it's something like you said you went through, didn't sound like it was, they didn't kill you, beat you up or anything. That's what an attorney's going to say. It's fucked. I hate to say that. I did PI way back in the beginning of my career. And so I think they need to have attorney fees clauses with these. And I think they do in civil rights actions. But a lot of attorneys just don't want to, bother.
Yeah, it sounds like the taxpayer money is going to pay for what the police do wrong, and the police aren't getting paid. But
You're absolutely right.
Back end. So, guys, before we jump off of here, there is something else that we do on Adam versus the Man. Jim, you want to get on screen for this, producer Jim? He'll join us.
What's up, Jim?
Gentlemen, it's been a blast. I really appreciate it. There's so much more we could talk about, but you're going to have to start charging me by the hour here. The website is potbrothersatlaww.com. I hope you guys, everybody listening from this conversation, has learned the value of talking to attorneys like this, getting this understanding of how to talk to cops and how to fight back, how to assert yourself. potbrothersatlaww.com. Mark and Craig, thank you so much for joining us. Any final thoughts, anything else you want to share with us today?
Stick to the script, shut the fuck up, never consent to searches, and always film the police.
Yes.
And follow us at Pot Brothers at Law on IG, which is there's an underscore between each word, pot_law_at_law. And if you're not already following us, and we give out free legal tips, legally in California, across the country is more towards the civil rights, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, search and seizure, and give you all kinds of free tips on how to deal with police.
And if you have a problem, a legal issue, wherever you are, in the entire world,
It's true, though. It's crazy.
It's true. Through our large, social media platforms that we have a worldwide attorney referral network system, and we have vetted out attorneys all across the world. Not everywhere. We're getting there. But we can potentially hook you up with a good, honest, ethical attorney that you can trust, because that's who we look for to be in our network. There's a lot of horrible attorneys out there. You got to be very careful. So you can always reach out to us wherever you are, and we just might be able to hook you up with an attorney where you're at to help you with what you need. And our toll-free line is 855-WASS-LAW, WASSLAW. And if you mention Adam versus the Man, we'll get you our discounted rates and consultations, and we're happy to try to help you out. And be sure to catch our iHeartMedia podcast, Cannabis Talk 101, on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Awesome. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Keep up the great work.
It was our pleasure, brother. Nice meeting you. Thanks for having us on.
All right. Let's get Joey back up on screen or check in with the audience on that. Oh man, there's so many places I almost like I want to talk. I want to sit down with those guys and do like a 3-hour special and be like, all right, so let me tell you this story. What do you think? How did I do? Like
they're not far away. We could totally. I mean, I'd like to talk to them about a certain custody issue in Virginia. So maybe we should go take a visit. Maybe Adam versus the Man hits the road, and we can go on Cannabis Talk 101 sometime.
We do have a few reasons to hit Southern California right now, actually. We might have to make a little road trip out of that. I like that idea.